Welcome to another episode of the House Huddle Podcast. Here are your hosts, Rob Schwartz and Justin Onayemi, two Bears fans who decided talking into a microphone was better than shouting at their television.
Welcome in, House Huddlers. Huddle up! Oh, wow, we got it on the first one.
All right.
Man, it has been a while.
Yeah. We took a lot of Veterans Day off.
We did. I mean, I think I mentioned it in the No Huddle, House No Huddle episode.
House No Huddle.
Which will be new for this season. Then it was, just there wasn't a lot going on. I mentioned, you're a teacher, so like you had summer break. I was transitioning between two jobs. It just seemed like a good time to kind of like reset.
Absolutely. And I mean, there's going to be so much excitement this season. I think we still got a lot ahead of us.
Yeah, we didn't want to like use it all in the beginning.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
Like waste it. So how you been?
Oh, I'm good, man.
All right, good.
Well rested, but super excited about the Bears. If you want to super overanalyze every little thing of the offseason, there's some nitpicky things that I'm sure we'll talk about today.
Yeah.
But big picture, it's just exciting. This season is hopefully going to be something new and exciting for us Bears fans.
That's definitely the hope. So welcome in. This is episode 82. I'm Rob Schwartz. Bear goggles on, as always. Not always, but majority of the time.
That's right.
My good friend and co-host, Justin Onayemi.
So Rob put the number of the episode in there, 82. We did not discuss. So I think on the count of three, we both say the player we're thinking of, and I'm pretty sure it'll be the same.
All right.
1, 2, 3.
Greg Olsen. Okay.
All right. It's the Greg Olsen episode. 82 is pretty significant. I think we're going to get to 99. And then at that point, we're vets and we just go.
Okay. Yeah.
So
next episode's 83, which I'm gonna just like make it the me episode. We could make this your episode, by the way. Dating ourselves here, but 83 is the year I was born.
I'm assuming we're gonna go Willie Galt, but we can go Rob Schwartz.
So we're into training camp, which is exciting. We got Hard Knocks on the way. That's exciting. The episode that I ran a little bit ago was some Caleb Williams news that had come out, but there's just, this week is the Hall of Fame game.
Yeah.
So I guess we just maybe start there. And
okay. So, I mean, I guess by being in the Hall of Fame game, first of all, it's great that there's going to be 3 Chicago Bears inducted.
Yeah.
I
call it 2.5, but yeah.
Hey, they played for the Bears. We're taking them. Unlike the White Sox, where they get the guys and they're very much past their prime, like Ken Griffey Jr. That wasn't quite what they got out of Julius Peppers.
Right.
Was he your half?
He's my half, yeah.
Oh, yeah. He was significant for the Bears.
Definitely.
He won't go in as a Bear.
No, I mean, he's a Carolina Panther. Yeah. I mean, through and through. So,
Steve McMichael, Julius Pepper, and Devin Hester.
Yeah.
Which wasn't first-time ballot, but deserving as a special teamer, which is tough to do.
Very much so. I mean, that he changed the game, right? I mean, we've talked about that before, but just an electric player too. So I'm excited for that. Yeah. And Mongo didn't just he just never got enough credit for the things that he did on the football field. Like Dan Hampton made comments all the time about how Mongo was better than him. So,
I mean, that was just such a good overall unit that I think it was hard to pinpoint who was doing what and that type of thing.
Right.
So, but I mean, that's the reason the Bears get to be in the game, and it's an extra game. And I think that's going to come up in how we analyze it in terms of, do starters play? Specifically starters like Caleb Williams. So do you want to kind of address what your thoughts are on that or hear mine? I don't know.
Yeah. So, I mean,
as the point of recording, it hasn't been announced yet if they will be playing.
It has not been announced yet. Caleb Williams did come out and say that he wants to play, but he knows it's not up to him, which is good to hear. I do think it's good to hear a player say they want to play. Most of them should. Nate Davis. But yeah, it's one of those weird situations where they do get the extra game this season. However, it wasn't that long ago that we did have 4 preseason games. But historically, the Hall of Fame game is for your third stringers and guys you just signed recently. I can't even remember the guy's name, but they just signed a running back because they're having some running back depth issues. And he'll probably see the field a lot.
So I guess the meatball in me would like to see Caleb Williams and like kind of like bring in the new era.
Yeah.
For that reason, and hearing that in camp they're still having problems with just sloppiness, pre-snap penalties, that type of thing. Now, from a player injury standpoint, you don't want him out there with reserves, things like that.
Especially on the offensive line.
Exactly. So I'm guessing for football reasons, they won't play him or really any of the starters.
Right.
Even though I think there could be some benefit. But that being said, I wouldn't have them out there more than a series even.
Sure. And I think so that you answered the question I was going to ask you, like, based on what they are going to, what we think they're going to do versus what we would want them to do. I think you pretty much said it. You'd like to see them get one series. I think a lot of fans agree. I think that's also just us wanting Bears football back,
this
right?
Is a new era.
There's going to be that hype and that expectation because we are going to see them with the Hall of Famers coming out and that inductee ceremony. So I feel you, and I can agree with that. At the same time, knowing that they're still going to have those 3 games, knowing that they're going to have that joint practice with the Bengals,
right.
I think it's not that big of a deal. And I am obviously a little concerned because there's enough injuries to the offensive line right now that who knows who's actually going to be able to play. And
last little wrinkle, I mean, as I said, even if starters were going to play, I would only want it to be limited, and you're going to run very vanilla stuff. But I don't like that they scheduled a team that you're going to play in the regular season and you're playing them in the preseason.
Yeah.
I don't like that.
That right there makes me not want to play.
Exactly.
Like anything. Like, exactly. I mean, just go out there and, take a knee. A whole game version of taking the knee. Can we see some Torrey Taylor punts, right? Like that would be exciting to me.
Bring out
right?
The Iowa offense from last season.
Yeah. I don't even know if he's gonna play. Like they have another punter in camp.
That's true.
I don't know his name off the top of my head, but he's a lefty. Maybe he's
a black
just
guy
there
too, right?
Is he? I don't even know.
I thought I saw an image of a black guy punting, and I was like, "That's not Torrey Taylor."
It could be. I have no idea. I just know he's a lefty.
Maybe I'm wrong.
But... and I believe he was with Denver at some point.
Okay. I have not dug that deep on backup punter.
Yeah, me either. But from what I hear, he's having an awesome camp. So I would like to see him, right? My guess is there's probably not going to be a lot of names that we're going to be excited to see on Thursday, but I'll be watching.
Yeah, absolutely. It's football and it's the Bears. And
yeah, exactly.
It's going to be great to see. So leading up to that then, assuming we're not going to see much of the players we really want to see.
Yeah.
What types of things have you been seeing in camp or hearing in camp that have you excited right now?
Yeah, so it definitely seems like, a lot of media members, a lot of the beat reporters from years past, there's been a few that are always on the positive side, but most of them have been negative.
In the past.
Justin Fields, Mitch Trubisky, a lot of negatives. With the current offense, it seems like the offense is at least winning days, right? Where before it was always the defense is winning, the offense will win on 7-on-7s, which the offense should win consistently on 7-on-7s. But you get to the 11-on-11 drills and you get the pads on, and it's just defense with a few good plays sprinkled in, right? It from what I'm hearing, the few things that I've seen, I mean, it's not that Caleb Williams isn't making mistakes. He's throwing interceptions. He's holding the ball a little bit too long, which I think you would expect from a rookie. I just don't want it to become the Justin Fields holding it on the ball too long, right?
I don't see that.
I don't either.
Mm-hmm.
The few clips that we've been able to see, there has been some good anticipation with his throws. Even the plays that are broken up, I still think the passes were fairly decent, put in good spots. It just feels different. It feels different. And I know that he's got Keenan Allen to lean on, and I know he's got DJ Moore to lean on, but it does feel different. I will say what's interesting is I haven't heard as much about Rome Odunze as I've been hearing about
Tyler Scott.
Scott.
Yeah, Velus Jones.
Right. Yeah.
there's a lot of talent on the offensive side of the ball, which is exciting. But you have a first year with your team coordinator. Right. You're installing a brand new offense. I would be a little, not worried, but somewhat worried if the defense was getting smoked by them.
Correct.
Because this is projecting, we think, to be a top 10 defense.
Yeah.
That's the number you keep kind of hearing. And if you look at how they ended the season, the significance of that being since Montez Sweat joined the team last season, they were starting to look like really coming together. Secondary is very strong. We both still think there's something to be said about the pass rush, but what about Gervon Dexter?
Gervon Dexter has been a bright spot, right? They were saying that we did all of the defensive end testing, even though he's, an interior guy, a lot bigger, right?
These guys are very fit, but they don't read very well.
Yeah.
Last year, Darnell Wright was doing the receiver drills.
Right. I was hoping that Gervon Dexter did it on purpose.
I think they did it on
purpose. In
hoping
hopes
in both
to be able
cases, they did it on
play both positions consistently, right? Because he did play outside at times. Yeah, I don't know. I thought he came on strong towards the end of the year, and I think we're just seeing that growth. We got to remember, too, he was also a bit of a raw project. He didn't have a lot of reps in college going into, the pros. He was also in a system that didn't require him to pass rush every single time. So I'm excited for that. And I think with him and obviously Montez Sweat, you have the foundation for a good defensive line. The offensive line scares me a hell of a lot more than the defensive line does. And there's still a couple names out there. I mean, I don't think that they're guys like, even Yannick Ngakoue. Like, I don't think they're guys that like you're going to go out and get because you're going to sign them cheap to add to the roster. They didn't sign Ngakoue till August 4th last year.
And Ogba just signed for only $3.5 million, I think.
Right. So like
that's a bar.
Right. So if you're looking to get someone on the cheap who can at least, can like bring some experience, bring some help, there's got you can still add that. You're not going to find that on the offensive line at this point.
No.
Well, maybe.
Yes.
Maybe. Do we just go there?
Go for it.
Okay.
For it.
So
it will lead into another segment, but maybe we will take a break to go into that part.
Okay. So Bates and Shelton have been basically swapping, right? Like switching on and off as far as like who's starting center, who's second center.
I have a question about that.
Until the Nate Davis somewhat injury, which has put him out. And then now you got Shelton playing center, which to me says he's winning. Or he's not as versatile.
Injury, Bates, you feel more confident about playing guard,
right? So then you move him to guard. I always thought Shelton was the guy to get the starting job at center. But maybe Connor Williams, who has yet to sign with the Seattle Seahawks as of this moment.
Right.
There's reports that he had a great meeting with them. He passed his physical. They want him, but yet he hasn't signed.
Okay. Well, I think that would be a very wise signing by the Bears because already you can't depend on Nate Davis.
Right.
And so if you're kicking Bates over to guard, like here we are, we're already makeshift and it's not even week 1.
Yeah.
You can get a guy at center, which is a vital position that you feel confident in to help support Caleb Williams in his rookie year.
Right.
Because even prior to the inevitable of Nate Davis being unavailable and them needing to do this switch, hearing that they were going back and forth between the two, I was thinking, is that what's best for Caleb Williams? I mean, the likelihood of him only having one throughout the season wasn't going to be very good. So I guess you could say he's getting familiar with both.
Could that be a part of the cadence issues?
Exactly. That's what I'm saying is like you want him to be as comfortable as possible. And if that means you get him a darn near all-pro center, I mean, I know he's coming off a major injury, but all reports are, and obviously Seattle feels he's going to be ready to go when the time comes. So that would have been a move I would have liked to see him make. You're making it sound like it's still out there, but it seems like a done deal in Seattle.
It does, but it's been 3 days. So
if anyone could do it, Ryan Poles could.
What's the hang up? I mean,
maybe now Miami's give everyone a chance to bid one more time.
Oh, Miami's been having some snapping issues. So are they going to want to bring him back? I think they signed Brewer to be their center. Maybe they're they're still mad because he's supposedly, like, there's rumors he stole their ping pong table. I don't know if you heard this, but their ping pong table supposedly went missing last year, and now Tyreek Hill is throwing out the rumors that they think Connor Williams is the one that took it.
Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, to be fair, if you steal a ping pong table and no one notices for several months, you did a heck of a job.
Right? That's not an easy thing to get out.
That's like Ocean's 14 or something. I don't know how many of those there were.
I don't know.
It scares me, man.
It does.
The O-line.
It does.
Because, even Tevin Jenkins won practice, went out, finished the practice, came back and finished the practice. But up the middle, question mark at center, question mark at both guards when it comes to dependability to complete a 17-game season.
Yeah. And this is why, there's the reports that Tevin Jenkins' camp was asking about a contract. He was told, look, let's talk about it after the bye week. And to me, that's them saying, we think you're good enough, but we have to see you be reliable and dependable and just, be there. The best ability is availability.
Yeah.
So, we'll have to see how that goes. There's a lot of just high-end stuff here, but I'm ready to take a break, and then we can come back and get
talk about some roster moves that they still could make, or maybe ones they should have made.
Yeah. So before we do, hit that subscribe button. I forgot to say this in the beginning. I always forget to say this in the beginning. Hit the subscribe button if you're excited for the Chicago Bears being on Hard Knocks. Hit the subscribe button if you're excited for the Chicago Bears playing the Hall of Fame game. Hit the subscribe button if you think Devin Hester deserves to be in the Hall of Fame. Hit the subscribe button if
you think the Bears are going to the playoffs.
Yeah. Hit the subscribe button if you're a Packers fan. I don't care.
We've plateaued on our number, but we're going to get there.
Yeah, we got a couple more.
The Bears is going to take off.
We got a couple more over the last couple days, and shout out to my two brothers who
there you go.
who signed up yesterday.
And I think there's going to be a lot to talk about because we're going to release some Hard Knocks material.
Yes.
And I think that will draw some fans in.
Yeah, we'll talk about that after the break. But if you do subscribe, you get entered into a free giveaway for a free Chicago Bears jersey.
I would really want to know Doomsday. I know I can't win, but that'd be my guy.
That would be a good one. All right, enjoy these ads.
And we are back on the Hallis Huddle. It's been a while, but we're back, and we're talking Bears training camp. So right before the break, we kind of mentioned Connor Williams is still out there. He would really likely solidify this line a bit. You'd feel immediately better about their depth. So we're going to transition into that a little deeper and talk about, as much as we love Ryan Poles and think he's done a fabulous job creating a competitive roster here, are there any areas where maybe there were missteps or moves that still could be made headed prior to the season?
Yeah, I mean, to me, I was always wanting an offensive center. We talked about it last year. There were a few centers that we really wanted in the draft. But
they addressed it, both signing a free agent.
They did, and they traded. Right.
So it's not like they left it unaddressed, is my point.
They did not. They did not come back with any of the same guys, right?
Doug Kramer still on the roster at this point, I believe.
Doug Kramer is on the roster, but he was also on the practice squad, left. I think he went to the Cardinals and then came back last year. So, I mean, I don't think they see him as their future center either.
I know, but I'm starting to now wonder, and this is not me a hot take by any means, but is there any scenario where Nate Davis is cut? If he just proves to be so undependable?
I see him being benched. I don't think he's going to be cut. So I looked at his contract before this episode just to see what the numbers were, and he's due $11.5 million.
That's a lot of money on the bench.
And if they cut him, it's 12, right? Okay. So it's like they would end up paying more to cut him than it would
cap relief.
Where next year they only owe him $2 million, and I think if they cut him, the dead cap's only $2 million, and like if they keep him, it's 11 again. So I have a feeling he's not going to be on the roster in 2025.
We'll have to see. Hopefully he figures out whatever he needs to this offseason and plays well in 2024, and then that's a different conversation.
So here's the mistake, and I guess it could prove that Ryan Poles knows what he's doing and is a better GM than I am, but it's not like they would have gotten a guaranteed starter by using that 5th round pick to get Ryan Bates, right? I mean, 5th round picks are dart throws in my opinion. I like 1 through 4, 5, 6, and 7 rounds are usually just dart throws. But I don't know if I don't feel like he's done enough to address the offensive line. You win in the trenches.
Not to mention this whole time in this conversation, we haven't mentioned Amagaji.
Yeah.
Who now looks like, is this a medical redshirt year in a sense?
I mean, so they said they knew about it prior.
Not that they didn't know, but he'll be ready. He'll be ready.
Right.
Doesn't seem ready.
Right.
And I'm not even hearing his name being brought up as competition. Well, not even competition to start, but to be in the rotation.
Yeah. And maybe he ends up being great. I don't know. Like, I don't have a lot of faith in it. I mean, I know they took him early enough where it's like, okay, maybe. I don't know. I mean, he doesn't have a lot of experience against top level competition. I know he's a local kid. I know he wants to be here, so that's important, at least to this regime. That seems like. But I'm still like I said earlier, I'm more worried about this offensive line than I am the defensive line, and I just, like I said, to win, you build through the trenches, and I know, bringing in Shelton and bringing in Bates, bringing in Davis, yeah, like those guys, like free agency isn't usually how you win, right? So like I do like where the Chicago Bears have gone through the draft. I like what Ryan Poles has done to this point, and he didn't have a lot of draft picks to use. And I do think getting Keenan Allen was probably better than drafting someone with the 4th round pick. But at the same time, I think that also means we still need to temper our expectations for the 2025 season.
Yeah.
And a lot of people,
2024
season. Yeah. And I'm still seeing a lot of people out there. I mean, I know Adam Rank does this pretty much every year, but he has them going 12-5, which I was a little shocked he didn't have them going 17-0.
Didn't I have 11-6? Now you're making that sound ridiculous. But,
yeah.
Well, as you were saying all that, and again, it's July 29th. They're not even in their first fake preseason game.
Right.
We don't see any huge moves coming between now and then. But if you just take a half step back and say, is the projected O-line they're going to put out there next year or start of this season better than what they were fielding last year? I think the answer would be yes. And you've improved in ways like getting Keenan Allen, Rome Odunze, DeAndre Swift, Gerald Everett. I think, and hopefully at the quarterback position. So I'm hoping it's not so bad that it's, you're setting up I don't want to say the wrong car. David Carr type rookie year where he took 60 sacks and it ruined his career basically.
Right.
We think the supporting cast and Caleb Williams are better, that even if the line's not, I was going to say A+. We know it's not going to be A+, but it's got to be average to slightly above average is what you're hoping for.
Yeah. I mean, Braxton Jones isn't going to be any worse than he's been. If anything, you would hope that 1 year, further developed, he'd be better. Darnell Wright's camp has been not as good as what you would have expected for a top 10 pick.
Pads have only been on for 3 of those practices.
Correct. And you're consistently going up against Montez Sweat. So, I think it's just one of those things that's going to you're going to have to let it play out.
Yeah.
And I think this is probably the case for most NFL teams, though. I mean, there are only a handful that have established defense or offensive lines that, like, the continuity is there and there hasn't been a lot of changes. Maybe one guy, right? I mean, you're probably talking about that with the Giants when we see, they added 2 guys in free agency in hopes to change their offensive line because Daniel Jones is constantly, thank you, taking sacks.
Angels and Demons.
Yeah.
The Da Vinci
Code. But they're constantly, having issues there. So they addressed it with 2 players. But again, like, are they going to work? You don't know. One was an offensive tackle for the Raiders and I think he only got $7 million this year. I'm trying to base this off of how many Hard Knocks episodes I've watched.
So, you can't fix everything in an offseason.
Correct.
And this team is 2 years removed from being 3-14 in total disarray as they gutted the whole roster. So
it's
considering all of that, we hope it's good enough to, put them on a path towards an upward trajectory where they're playoff contenders and Caleb Williams remains upright and has a solid rookie year to build upon.
The offensive line just needs to be average.
Right.
If they're average and Caleb Williams is as advertised, this team can go to the playoffs.
All right, let's go to the defensive side of the ball. The biggest thing, and we kind of talked about it in the first half as well, is not having a bona fide edge rusher on the other side of Montez Sweat.
Yeah.
I feel like, to your point, last season, they signed Yannick Ngakoue very late.
Yes.
It was into August, and still went out before the deadline and made a trade for Montez Sweat.
Yeah.
I could see something very similar happening this season. There's a lot of guys in the league at that position who may be available, and more than I remember in the old days, trades do happen during the season.
They do.
So you're talking about Matt Judon. You're talking about Hendrickson in Cincinnati. There's a few other names that have escaped me at this point, and depending on if teams end up being competitive or not,
right,
there might be a big name at edge that you can get during the season. Now, the problem with that is you're now 6-7 games in. Is what you have now good enough that 7 games in, you're 4-3 or 5-2, as opposed to what we've been seeing, which is 1-6, 2-5.
Right. I mean, the hope is that Ryan Poles is going to be a buyer at the trade deadline and not a seller.
Exactly.
Right. Or you stand pat, one of the two, hopefully not selling. Unless it makes sense. Like maybe, you don't think Tevin Jenkins is going to stick around and you're a middling team and you're not going to pay him, then maybe you do.
A guy you're not going to keep.
Right. But the chances of that happening is slim.
So do you have a preference as to them addressing it now, like it's an urgent matter to do prior to the season? Or do you think go with what you got? And I don't know if they're just playing poker with saying we like what we have on the team and we want to see what our new coaches can do with them.
Right.
Because Jacob Martin's another name that I've heard in camp that's shown some flashes, but he's a veteran who's never shown to be more than just a rotational guy.
Right.
And here they are talking about, can he be a 3-down end? Now, I don't know if that's, again, this time of year, you kind of speak roses about everyone, it seems.
Exactly.
5th round pick Booker, they're excited about.
Yeah, we haven't even talked about him. Yeah. Could he be the Mark Anderson type? I don't know if you're going to come in and get 12 sacks your rookie year, but could he end up with 5, 6? I think so. He's been looking good in camp. I think, he's going to be limited to just passing downs, but
you need a guy like that.
Correct.
And maybe they are comfortable with a guy like DeMarcus Walker just being a veteran presence, a leader on that unit.
Yeah. And
you look up and down that defensive depth chart, you got a lot of talent in the secondary. You got great linebackers, at least the ones you're starting.
Yeah. So, the one thing we can talk about is there's 9 out of 11 starters returning on that defensive side of the ball. So, right there in itself is huge.
Exactly.
Now, injuries obviously happen. They had secondary issues going into the year with injuries. Kyler Gordon's already dealing with injuries again. But hopefully nothing major. And if he had to play, I think he'd be fine. Which, by the way, I never heard of Brian Burns being referred to as Spider-Man, but apparently that's his nickname. And he even does the thing with the.
It doesn't seem as fitting though.
No, it does not. I heard that on Hard Knocks offseason for the Giants, and it's no. Well, Spider-Man is Kyler Gordon.
Yeah, doing flips and stuff.
He does the whole jump up thing. I want to see Brian Burns get that high, right?
Well, the Giants don't.
Exactly.
Be a Grammatica injury or something. Or no, the Bears had a guy. Houston?
Yeah, Lamar Houston
They're
doing
getting
the
destroyed too. They're like down 30. He gets a sack.
torn ACL. This is what it's like being a Bears fan.
Yeah.
Like
better
awful.
memories hopefully ahead.
Yeah, exactly.
So, do you have much more there? Because there's one last thing we definitely want to talk about on this episode.
No, the only thing that I do have is some hype videos to get us back on track here. Is I'm like talking poorly about a team that we should all be hyped about.
You're right. We're nitpicking.
This is just one play, two different angles. The first one here is from the Chicago Bears, but there's a major thing here to look at that I think points to a positive direction for Caleb Williams that I don't think we saw enough of from Justin Fields. And I don't like doing the comparison thing, but
you're going to do it.
We're going to do it anyway. And I know people are going to say, but he did it and he's shown it. I get it. And it's only one play. I think that this is a step in the right direction for Caleb Williams, whether we're going to compare him or not.
There you go. Tyler Scott.
Yeah.
Taking all Roma Dunze's.
And actually, this isn't the play I was thinking of. I was thinking it was the one where he steps up into the pocket, and I just completely described a play that didn't happen. But he did keep his eyes downfield, right? He's making multiple reads. He just rolls out a little bit to the left, or to the right, sorry.
And doesn't even need to set his platform.
And he does this, this is like his signature throw, right? Like the running and throwing. So
like the Jordan logo.
Yeah, it does look similar to the Jordan logo. And so this is a play here. Same exact play, just a different angle.
Decent coverage.
And that's Tyler Scott. We keep talking Tyler Scott. So just removed ourselves. Production quality is a little lacking here right now because I haven't done it in a while. I forget my buttons.
So the last thing.
Yeah.
And I think we saw a little sneak peek of something. I don't know if you saw the clip of the Bears are going to be on Hard Knocks. I don't think I'm breaking any news there.
August 6th is the first episode.
And we will be putting out content.
Yes.
So be on the lookout for that. But on the sideline, DJ Moore and Keenan Allen were having a conversation. Did you happen to hear this?
Are you talking about a certain video game character?
Yes.
Yes.
Now, that was the Bears put that out, but I'm sure Hard Knocks has that too.
I'm sure.
That's going to be on there. But yeah. I'm just looking forward to seeing their personalities and getting to know these guys a little better.
Yeah. Yeah.
But that conversation was hilarious. And I think if there's more of that, then I'm all for it.
Yeah. And I think that is what you'll probably see just based off of what you see in other seasons. The teams don't try to give you a lot that you can give other teams to go off of. But there's going to be a lot of personalities. And you talked about DeMarcus Walker, right? Like he's already been known as a big personality in that locker room. I think he's going to be a guy. Torrey Taylor seems to have a good personality as a punter, and he's got that Australian accent, so everyone's going to want to hear from him. Caleb Williams, honestly, like this kid is well-spoken, humble, but yet you can still sense like he's got that drive. He's got that want to just be the best. He was asked today to give the one area that he feels like he needs to work on. I think it was from Herb Howard who asked the question during the press conference, and it took him a while to answer because he's like, you got me off guard. It's a good, but he did say and here again, when they compare it to Justin Fields, but I think it's every rookie quarterback is being able to identify the blitz and the overview of the defense, right? So identifying that blitz, I think, is going to be a big thing again for all rookie quarterbacks.
Maybe where you'd want a very reliable center to be helping you.
That definitely could help.
Not saying the two they have aren't that.
I mean, Coleman Shelton started for the Rams last year.
You're right.
So let's give him a little bit of props.
That's McVay.
Yes, that is McVay, which Waldron is connected to. So I think the personalities are definitely going to come out. I feel like you always get attached to some of these camp bodies, right? I'm blanking on the defensive back's name. Stuart Reedy. Reddy Stewart. Yeah, Reddy Stewart. I did it backwards. I'm sorry. He would be the one.
Never
The one that I was supposed to. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. I had a potential interview lined up with, and then unfortunately, things did not work out. Maybe I
His
can
number
still
already passed for the episodes anyway.
Yeah, but maybe I can still make that happen. I'll have to reach out. Yeah. So again, those things are the things that typically come out in those types of shows. Tevin Jenkins, I think, will be an interesting guy to see.
Agreed. I think I already mentioned it, but I think DJ Moore, but also DJ Moore's daughter apparently like hangs out at practices a lot and is a bit of a character. So I could see that kind of popping up.
Yeah.
Jalen Johnson, when I've heard him interviewed and things like that,
all the defensive backs.
Like actually, you're right.
Like
and the defense likes to talk. So
yeah, those guys. Brisker, Stevenson.
Oh yeah,
Kyler Gordon and Jalen. I mean, all four of them. I think that's going to be a lot of fun.
Well, then I'm curious. Kyler Gordon's this is year 3 for him.
Yes.
And he's out of Washington.
Yeah.
Were him and Odunze close at all? When they must have had an overlap year.
Don't believe that they were close, but it's come up like.
I didn't know if that will come up in the show at all or anything, but interesting.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, Odunze and Caleb Williams are close, right? At least it seemed that way. I don't know if things have changed as the offseason has progressed, but those two could be another.
Well, and I want to see. We left something really big out. I can't believe we left this out. Eberflus.
Yeah.
And just the messaging and the building of the team and Waldron, like I want to see that as well.
Yeah, and it's Matt Eberflus. He's definitely a different personality, I think, a little bit this year. Now, he's had experience being on Hard Knocks because when the Colts they did the in-season version.
You're right.
So he's already been here and done that. I think that will help.
I mean, don't you think, though, that I know it's a huge production. There's tons of crew out there and everything.
Yeah.
But at some point, they're just playing and just doing their thing and kind of forget the cameras are there, or you think that doesn't really happen?
I mean,
I know the team has oversight on some of the stuff
for
that can go out.
For sure. I think the PR team does a pretty good job too. Like even with their content that they put out, like 1920 Drive, Football Drive, and then like the questions, right? They did like the one where like they were trying to like give them a riddle recently, and it was like all the numbers.
The mistake?
But and then the was like in 2 different lines, so it was harder to see, and some guys were just like taking a while to get it, and then once somebody came up and was like, "Oh, it's 2 thes," they're just like, like those types of things. I think will show up. But one thing that I noticed again from watching the Hard Knock season for the Giants, and again, I feel the offseason to me, like the offseason part is way more interesting to me than like training camp, because I feel like you don't get a lot in training camp. We got a lot from this Giants thing with like the Saquon Barkley news and the owner, the president was like, if he goes to Philadelphia, I'm gonna have heart palpitations and but to see how much that guy like interjects even on like draft stuff. Is McCaskey doing anything like that? Because I sure as hell hope not.
Is Kevin Warren going to show up on Hard Knocks a bunch?
Oh, I guarantee he's going to be on.
Poles.
But
Poles should be.
Poles should be. But like, I just don't want to see overreaching from people that I don't want touching the team. And again, we're not going to get a lot of that because it's not that type of part of the season.
Right.
But it just makes me think like.
Well, it's funny too in the Giants one how much has come out that is Bears related.
Yes,
like the DeAndre Swift stuff.
Yeah,
and their rankings on Caleb Williams and on Rome Odunze.
Yep,
real interesting Bears connections throughout the show.
And supposedly they had a trade lined up. Had things fallen a different way. So
glad it went the way it went.
I'm glad it went the way it went.
Didn't give up any capital. Got your guy who pretty much sounds like he was their number 2 guy.
Yeah.
So
that's all I got.
All right. By the next time we come on the air again, an episode of Hard Knocks will be out. The Hall of Fame game will be behind us, and
honestly,
we'll be closer to the real stuff.
The next episode should be mostly Hard Knocks related. But it's possible that some of the Hall of Fame game coverage could pop up in that episode. I'm not sure exactly how their production is going to go. So
it might not be that quick of a turnaround.
Right.
So, but we got a lot planned, even for what's left of the preseason.
Yes.
We could let it be a surprise, I guess.
Yeah, but I will be here for week 1 this year.
Nice. All right. Try something new.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe this is the way
that's what's been
going to lead to the
back.
Super Bowl.
That's what's been holding them back. Justin Fields is pissed at you, by the way.
Right?
All right.
We didn't even talk about that. Justin Fields
first time reps
has been doing great in Pittsburgh.
Well, and I know Wilson had an injury, which is why he ran with the ones predominantly for a full practice. But is he still out?
Yeah, he's dealing with a calf strain.
Oh,
so
okay. Get those 51% of snaps, man.
Yeah. He's
even if some are at running back.
He's been looking good.
Or gunner.
And can you believe it? They had him throw a slant.
I was asking for it. Oh, Michael Gallup went from the Cowboys to the Raiders.
I didn't even pay attention to that.
Well, and then now he's retired. And my first thought when I heard that was, is that how bad Luke Getsy is?
That's how we end the show.
And it's like, I'm out of here.
That's how we end the show.
All right. Bear down.
Bear down. Claws up.
Yeah, Michael Gallup.
It is possible that Justin Fields is better than we think.